How are you? Yes, I see that you're finally awake now. You want to go lay down? Yeah, I know. I see. Anyways. Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another episode of The Gloving Paradigm, where I am your host Peter, aka LPD Buke, the cringiest glover on YouTube.
You're an inspiration to all of us. I'm in.
Holy crap, has it been a while, I mean a good while since I actually recorded an episode like this. And yes, we're going back to a little bit more of an educational content because that's what I wanted to do in the beginning and I don't want to let go of that at all. So if you don't like me doing educational content, I'm sorry. We have plenty of other content that I've done that you can find it. You can find it in my channel. Go there.
People don't tell me what to do. I tell them what to do.
But yes, what is it this week that I want to cover? Well, I'm so glad you asked because I wanted to add more to my little dictionary thing known as the Gloving Term series. Because, yeah. So, once again in this series, what I do is I take what are very common terms that we hear in the gloving community and define them for you. So people who are not as initiated in the gloving community know what they mean by these terms. Because surprisingly enough, there's actually a good amount of terms that people hear and they're like, wait, what? And I totally get this. If you're anybody who's played Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Hearthstone, or Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon to that extent as well, or any other trading card game, we have these little shortcuts, these little lingo terms that allow us to essentially shorthand a lot of things. You know, when people talk about bounce in card games, they don't mean literally bouncing. They literally mean you take the card and you put it back into your hand. That's what it means to bounce. And essentially what I'm doing here is kind of doing the same thing. I explain that to you.
Oh.
So of course, I got myself back on my trusty little uniform. The thing that I always tell people at the end of the day, this is what you try to do. This is all you need to do. You just try not to suck when it comes to your shows. That's why I wear this shirt all the time. And that's why I love it.
You're not funny and nobody likes you.
So, without further ado, I guess we can just get right into the terms. So, my first term for this episode is going to be tech vomit. Why do we call tech vomit tech vomit? I really need to learn how to word things. Why do we coin this term the way that we coin it? Well, by its definition, it is a term referring to a glover throwing as many technical concepts without any rhyme or reason, possibly just running through the concepts. So, if you are watching a light show video or a finger show video or a lab session video, whatever the case may be, if you're watching a video or you're watching somebody perform and you're just seeing them going crazy in their tech concepts and they don't really follow the rhythm of the song and they are just doing the things because they can do it and they just don't really give you any way of rhyme or reason why they do the things that they do, that's tech vomiting. So one of the things I always will tell people when you are indicating somebody who's just tech vomiting is when you don't see it following the song or it's not leading the song, depending on how the person is attacking their performance. You know, there's nothing wrong for having the song lead you. It depends on the song, but a lot of the times, a lot of glovers like people leading the song. But tech vomiting doesn't follow musicality. It doesn't follow that. It is literally you're trying to show as many concepts as you can to your viewer for whatever reason. Now, a good indicator of why somebody would do this is like maybe they're trading shows with somebody that they look up to and they really want to show all their really cool tricks and stuff, but they get so nervous so they just kind of
Enough already, you can stop.
It's understandable and I get it, but you know, that's just something that you need to be wary of, is that you don't just throw all of your concepts out there at once. I will certainly tell you I've had that problem myself many times. I sometimes still struggle with it, but you know what? That is what it is. There's not much I can do about that. It's all about recognizing and working from that. First step is always to recognize the problem. Alrighty, next term is lab or labbing. Now, it's funny because so many people have never really heard this term, but this term is much older than what people realize because it's not a gloving term. It's not a gloving lingo thing, or it didn't start with gloving. It actually started with the dance community in general, especially when it comes to street dance. You know, hip hop, pop, lock, all that stuff, just all that stuff. This is where it comes from. So labbing or labs is literally an older dance term in which a person works on their trade of skill. Or with a group of people. You know, you have very different ways of going about doing a lab. A lot of the times people are doing it by themselves, where they just sit in their room listening to their music or doing their everyday errand thing, or, you know, adulting as we like to call it. And they just practice on whatever they've been practicing on. Let's say they've just been working on dials, so they just sit there and practice doing dials with their fingers, right? This is all they would do. This is a form of labbing. Or, you know, even when you're just practicing your little digit stackings. You know, literally just doing stuff like this over and over again. It's considered labbing. That's kind of like solo labbing. There are very different variations of it. But there are three main things that are going on in a lab session. Or at least when it comes to a group of people, from my experience, this is how we've always done it. And it doesn't really matter which way you go about it. It just depends on what it is that you're going to be working on within this lab session. That's going to dictate how you go about it. Okay, so, you know, you can be in a lab session that you're trying to create a new concept. You know, there are many different ways to coming up with concepts. You know, hybriding two different known concepts is a way to come up with a new concept. Look at finger waves and tutting. Add them together, you get wave tutting. You know, that's one idea. Another way that a lot of people spend their time in lab sessions is they are actually watching tutorials or watching videos of people trying to get those examples of what they're trying to work on. Whether it's a concept that's not relatively new, but it's hard for them to grasp, yeah, they're going to need those visual aids. So I've actually spent one lab session where we did nothing but watch videos all day. You know, and that was fine because there was so much information that we were able to sit there and discuss about through those shows and using those examples to really help exemplify what they were working on. Case in point, look at my morphing episode. It's going to be right over here. Right there. You know where I'm pointing. The other thing that a lot of people are going to be saying here is that if they have come up with a new concept or they found a concept but it's still really rough around the edges, this is another point where people would sit there and just discuss the techniques that they would try to utilize to come off with the concepts that they're working on. You know, again, think about, you know, digits and dials, clusters, whatever the case may be, so on and so forth. This is the point in time where you are either discussing with other people or you're working on yourself or you're watching videos. Those are the three major points. Now, are there other things that people can do within a lab session? Yes, they can do much more than just that. But those are just kind of the three most common methods I've seen people go with. Alright, next up. Third term that I'm going to use for this episode is known as trade or trading. The reason why I need to cover this one is because I have read so many comments when people talk about trading where somebody goes up to a person and says, "Hey, want to trade?" And they literally rip off their gloves to go like that and trade gloves. That's not what we mean.
Oh.
The term trading is basically referred to as a term referring to two separate artists, either glovers, orbiters, hoopers, etc., exchanging shows as a mutual entertainment purpose. Like, that's literally what it is. There's no actual exchanging of items. It is literally just, hey, you want a show? I want a show from you. We want trade shows. Trade. It's why you hear that often. It's a strange term that I don't think is necessarily the gloving community's term, but I think it's more of the greater flow arts umbrella term type deal, where it applies to more of the greater flow arts community. You know, you got poi, hooping, orbiting, leviton wands, bow staffing, rope darts. I can keep going. Fans. There's another one.
All right, I get it.
You know, we got plenty of different floors. I probably use this term as well, but that's typically what they usually mean. Is like, hey, you want to trade? Is want to exchange shows? I want to see what you got. You want to see what I got? That's really not that hard to understand. And if it is, please let me know down in the comments so I can help. Okay, next term. This term is a very interesting term because a lot of people don't think it comes from outside of the gloving community, but it does. It's actually one of the great things I like about my podcast is I like teaching the historical points of gloving and the historical references that come from that. So, this term is known as Cypher. Now, first thing I want to explain is the definition of a cipher when it comes to gloving. It is a performance or a video in which a series of performers go in sequential order to a viewer or a camera. So basically, it's literally somebody doing a segment of a show, they tag out and another person tags in. Now, there is a big difference between a cipher tag out and a tag team double tag out, okay? So, I want to stress that. However, the term cipher actually comes from the rap and hip hop community. Why do they call it that? Well, it's the same thing, except instead of performing with light shows, it's them actually spitting the rhymes that they curated for that particular cipher. Or they kind of work off of improvisations based on what the previous person threw down in terms of rhymes. Okay, it is a very common thing that you'll see in the rap and hip hop community. I mean, you go on YouTube and you can literally find hundreds and dozens of different ciphers from rappers all around the world. Okay, the reason why we like to do this is because it allows us to showcase. Maybe it's a team that you're trying to showcase. Maybe you have a team of like 4 or 5 people and you want to showcase them all, right? Then that allows you to really showcase. Not only does it showcase your team, but it showcases each individual person. It shows a diversity of styles. It shows different incorporations and commonalities between all the different people. There are so many different ways and reasons why people do ciphers. But to me, above all, a lot of people like doing ciphers is because it's our form of collaboration, right? Now, granted, yes, we have doubles and tag team doubles and stuff like that. That works as well in terms of collaboration. But ciphers seems to be like the sweet spot for everybody. It gives them that moment to shine and show what they're able to do without having to adapt to somebody else's performance at the same time when it comes to something like a double. So, yeah, ciphers are really, really fun. I will certainly say there have been a few times I've seen people do it either in person or did it over the internet, where one person will record a segment and another person will record a segment and they'll cut the 2 pieces together and make a cipher out of that. That's something I kind of wish to see more from the gloving community, because granted, I understand the current world situation right now is not allowing us to do that super easily. However, all about asking people to help you out on those editing stuff, because then you're creating different forms of content that people would like to see. If you need somebody to help you out, you can always ask me. I'm just saying. I don't cost that much to do the work for you. You know, I'm just saying. You know, a four person cipher is like $10. I'm just pointing it out. Perfect segue into the next term that I did not write down, but going through this episode, I realized that I made a term that I didn't really explain. So, I'm going to explain it here. Tag team doubles. There is a major difference between a cipher, a double, and a tag team double. Okay, so a cipher is one person doing the thing and then they move out and the other person comes in, right? That's a cipher tag team. A tag team double is pretty much what you would understand if you know wrestling really well. Okay, so in wrestling, tag teams is where you have 2v2, one person's out, one person's in. When they tag the other person in, there is like a good moment where both people are in the ring against one person, they do a couple things, and then the other person gets out. Okay, that is the same thing here. Okay, so what you do is you have a show, one person starts, you get the other person to come in, you do a double show for a little bit, and then the first person who was in moves out, and then the second person takes over. that is a tag team double. Okay, it is very important for people to know this because I've had people ask me, hey, we want to do a double, but I want to go first and then he goes second. I'm like, okay, just make sure you guys incorporate something in the middle between you two so you guys transition in and out. And they did a Cypher transition in and out, and that's not a double, that is a Cypher. That's why it is extremely important to understand that. Now, do you have to have any form of choreography to do this tag in, tag out thing when it comes to a tag team double? Not necessarily, no. I will certainly say once you are tagging a person in to take over, the person who's getting tagged in just needs to kind of work off of what the person's already throwing and then start curating it towards your show, and the person who's getting tagging out needs to start curating their show to that person's show so it transitions from one person to another. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It's just learning how to work off of another person that's really going to sell that show to them. Okay, it's kind of one of the reasons why I wish we actually saw more shows like that, if that makes any sense. Especially in competitions, I'm just saying. If you guys want to see like a tag team competition thing, let me know. Like, we might be able to pull something off. Alright, final term for the day, reset. Now, this is kind of more of a greater dance term in itself, but it does exist. Hi, Bubby.
5 minutes later.
Sorry about that. I've been sleeping in the bedroom all day, so. Alright, final term. Reset is basically a term referring to a starting position that a performer returns to in order to get themselves back on track. Okay, this is something that you'll catch on to as time goes on, but there are certain things that people do that you'll start to note as a reset. Now, why do they call it a reset is basically a lot of the times that people do a reset is when they start fumbling through a concept that maybe they're not really well versed, or they go to throw a concept that they've been working on really well and it just is not landing properly. So they go into a position that allows them to either get out of what they're doing and start on a different concept chain, or just gets them back to where they need to be to retry it again. That's what they mean by reset. So I can't say this is for everybody because not everybody has the same reset, but you will notice a starting position with a glover or any performer that they tend to go back to very often. So I'm just using this as an example. Somebody like me, I have a tendency of going back into the cage and using the cage as my starting position because I can do a lot of things with this, So if you see me go into a cage a lot and kind of come back to the center and then start doing stuff like this, that's probably me doing a reset. And it's totally fine. I'm not saying that resets are bad, but too many resets does not make your show look good. Because it shows that you're not well versed with your concepts, nor are you disciplined with your concept to actually come off with a good performance. So, to avoid using so many resets, you definitely drill on your concepts to get them down. You want them to be nice and clean. You do not want them to be sloppy at all. Alright, so that's one thing. I would certainly say common starting positions that you'll see is maybe the cage, the prayer position when it comes to king tutting. I've seen a lot of people use this as a good starting position. Finger rolls like this, it's a good starting position. Many different ways. I even seen somebody use this as their reset position. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people have their own different resets. It's learning to recognize when somebody's doing a reset is what's going to help. Now, like I said, not everybody's going to have the same one. So, it comes to you recognizing a reset over time from watching a lot of different live shows. Because, granted, not everybody has the same one, but there's a lot of common ones that people tend to use, and it's usually to me, that's kind of a product of exchanging ideas and exchanging techniques with each other. That social concept that we have with each other as glovers when we do lab sessions, we have that tendency of showing a starting position of a concept very often. And I think a lot of people use those starting positions of concepts or tutorial concepts as their reset point. So Alright, and that is it. That is all the terms that I have for today. I certainly hope you guys enjoy what I had to talk about in this episode. I certainly hope that you guys learned what these terms are. If you're new with these terms, that's great. If you know somebody who's trying to get into gloving, maybe you should show them this episode. That way they actually know some of the lingo terms and not get so confused. It is the reason why I make this kind of content, is because I want to help people who want to get into this hobby much easier and actually have a lot more fun. Okay, I know to all those old heads out there, just like me, who started in the 2010 or prior era, that goes, well, I had to learn this all on my own because I didn't have anybody else, and blah, 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 blah.
You're the reason this species is a failure, and it makes me angry.
Shut up. I get it. No one helped you, but you don't need to be a dick and not help other people. Okay? That's why I'm doing this. So, if you have any questions on any of the terms that I have used today, please do not hesitate to hit me down in the comment section below or hit me up on any of my social medias. You'll find those in the description below. And of course, if you guys like the content that I'm making and wish to help me make better content, you have the awesome, wonderful opportunity to donate to me at Ko-Fi for a one-time donation. Seriously, people have been doing it and it's seriously been helping me out. Alright, so please do not hesitate to go do it. You know, if you fortunately cannot donate to me in that way, you can always like, share, subscribe, and do all that stuff that every YouTuber tells you every single time. That I'm surprised that people still have to tell them to do that when everybody kind of did. Yeah.
Whatever you say, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know why I just said that. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but gotta stand by it.
Yep, that is pretty much all for my episode. Once again, thank you to everybody who has shown support, who has donated to my Ko-Fi, and who continues to show me support. It's absolutely amazing, and it gives me enough drive in the day to keep getting up every day and making more videos for you guys. So, thank you guys so much. I absolutely love you guys. But I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and I'll see you guys all next week.